have 3 new foundation releases to review for you in today's foundation roundup. These are not first impressions. I always thoroughly test each foundation for several days using various primers, no primer, and different application methods. And I show you clips throughout that I think give you a good picture of my experience with each foundation. You'll see how they apply, what they look like on me, how they wear throughout the day, and what skin types I think would benefit the most from each foundation. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I regularly test foundation and other complexion products here on my channel because I live in a very challenging climate here in New Orleans. It's hot and humid most of the year. So no matter what your skin type is, it's really challenging just to keep makeup on your face all day long. So I could really put foundations to the test here. I'm also 50, and as we get older, it just becomes more challenging to find the right complexion products for our skin. So let's go ahead and get into these foundations and see how they worked or didn't work for me, and if any of them might work for you. You know, I usually have 4 or 5 foundations in my foundation roundups, but I've already touched on each of these and have verdicts on them. So I just wanted to go ahead and share my thoughts on these foundations. And I'm realizing I actually do have all price points in this video: luxury, high-end, and drugstore. If you're new here, you should know my skin type. I have combination skin that's normal and can be somewhat dry around the perimeter, and I get shine and oil breakthrough in the center of my face during the day. So I sort of experience a bit of everything on my face, which is pretty frustrating for me, but can be quite helpful for you. And I always show you what each foundation looks like before it's set with powder and after, since I am someone who does need to set my foundations with powder. The primers and powders I normally test with, use myself, and recommend to you are linked below in my description box, along with everything I'm sharing and wearing today, and as many products as possible are also tagged through YouTube. I'll start with the YSL Skin Affair Soft Glow Cushion Foundation, which in my opinion wins for prettiest packaging. It's very luxurious with the YSL logo and this blush, pillowy, cushiony compact. You flip up the lid and you have a sponge housed in the top tray, which you flip open to reveal the cushion foundation. This is $49 for half an ounce. You do typically get less liquid product in cushion foundations. There are 31 shades. I got it in LN5 and think I probably should have gotten it in the next shade down, LC7. When you see me apply it and look at it next to my neck, you can see it's just a hair too light. It's fixable with bronzer. I'm not really worried about it, but if I had to do it over again, I would probably get it in LC7. If you think you're my shade match twin in foundation or concealer, I do keep running shade match lists over on my blog. The links to those pages are always in my description box if you ever want to reference those. Cushion foundations are just very easy and convenient to apply in general. I get nice coverage with this right away with very little product. Although the included sponge is nice and convenient, I typically like to use a beauty blender type sponge to apply cushion foundations. That's just a personal preference though. This applies very quickly and easily. It's a water-based buildable serum foundation that's alcohol-free. There's some nice skincare ingredients in here like squalane, niacinamide, and polyglumatic acid that give your skin hydration and minimize the look of your pores. It also has amino acid coated pigments for a lightweight, breathable feel on your skin, and it's supposed to give your skin a seamless, all-day soft glow. This does a really nice job of evening out red spots and covering dark spots with very little product while not looking cakey. My skin tone looks nice, my pores are minimized, and it looks nice and natural. This is easily buildable from medium to, I would say, slightly over medium full coverage, and it does a really nice job of blurring pores and texture. I would say initially before setting, it has a satin natural finish to it, and there's a slight tacky feel to it as well, but it's not too bad. If you have very dry skin, you may not need to set it. Now, all of my days were pretty consistent at the, I'm going to say midway point, around 3.5 to 4.5 hours. Everything looks just nice and natural, but after that time point, I start to get very, very shiny. This does have a satiny radiance to it that just gets more pronounced as the day goes on. Keep in mind, shine. It is very hot and humid here, and I do typically get shine and oil breakthrough in the center of my face. And I just get more shine than I'm comfortable with as the day goes on, and especially at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if I'm wearing a primer or not, but the coverage is still there. I think if you have normal to dry skin, mature normal to dry skin, especially if you live in less humidity than I do, you might really like this if you like that satiny finish. It did start out really pretty every day that I tried it. I kept willing this to work every day past that midway point, and it just didn't for me, but I could see this working really well for others. Now, I do need to point out that fragrance is listed about 75% of the way down the ingredient list, and there is a very soft, kind of sweet floral scent to this. I notice it when I'm applying it, but I don't notice it after it's on my face. I know some people are really sensitive to scents and makeup, so I wanted to let you know that. This unfortunately didn't work for me, at least not this time of year. It may work well for me in the dead of winter for short days, but unfortunately, it's just not one that works for me right now. I can't remember if it was my last foundation roundup or the one before that where I reviewed the 2 new foundation balms from Laura Mercier in It Cosmetics, but we have another one. This is the L'Oreal True Match Hyaluron Tinted Balm. This is supposed to be their replacement for their 4-in-1 tinted balm that was in a jar. I love that for shorter, no makeup days. It just melted into my skin, and we discovered in whichever video that was that the It Cosmetics balm in a jar is pretty much identical down to the ingredient list to that previous L'Oreal balm. So this isn't really a replacement because this is more of a solid balm, sort of along the lines of the new Laura Mercier tinted balm, except not quite as solid. So you have a little flip up lid here, and underneath you have a mirror, and this is where the sponge lives. It's kind of a plasticky feeling component. It doesn't feel too luxurious, but it is a drugstore product. You get 0.3 ounces for $17.99 retail. I have seen it for around $15 or so at various retailers, Amazon, Target, places like that. So just really quickly, I wanted to look at the pricing of this balm compared to the It Cosmetics and Laura Mercier so we can see what we're dealing with per half an ounce, since they all have different quantities in them. And you know, balms are denser, they're different than liquids. So if you break this out per half ounce, it's $29.99. Now you get 0.63 ounces with It Cosmetics, but again, it's a different consistency. It's more of a creamy, liquidy balm. It's $34. So it's $26.99 per half an ounce. Now Laura Mercier, which is a solid balm like this one, it's 0.17 ounces and it costs $44. That breaks down to $129.41 per half ounce. I know this isn't a comparison video, but I just wanted to give you that perspective really quickly. That kind of blew my mind about Laura Mercier. So I grabbed this in shade 2.5 Neutral Light. There are 12 shades. This applies very nicely and quickly. It has kind of a silky, waxy feel to it that's very different from the original version and the It Cosmetics, since those apply and sink into your skin very much like liquid foundations. And this is more of a lightweight, solid balm foundation. This is formulated with 80% skincare ingredients, including hyaluronic acid, and it's designed to melt into your skin and never be greasy or cakey. Now, there is a very, very faint kind of makeup-y scent to this. I noticed as I'm applying it that the previous version didn't have, the It Cosmetics doesn't have either, and fragrance is listed near the bottom 25% of the ingredient list. This evens my skin tone nicely and is smoothing on pores and texture. I would say this is buildable from sheer to light medium coverage, and it feels nice and lightweight. It sets down somewhat, not fully on my skin type anyway, but it doesn't feel extremely tacky to the touch either. My face doesn't feel sticky before I set it with powder. Regardless of whether or not I'm wearing a primer with this tinted balm, this is a product that gives me shine breakthrough every couple of hours. So I have to maintain it blot it, touch it up with translucent powder. That didn't really surprise me because they claim this gives radiant coverage. However, the coverage doesn't break down until close to the end of its wear time, which is usually about 6 hours max, even if I'm wearing a primer. It's not the longest wearing product in the world, but neither was the previous version. These tinted balms typically don't give me long wear times, but they don't really claim to either, so I can't fault them that. And even when it does get shiny and greasy looking, and even when it starts to break down, it doesn't feel heavy or greasy on my face. My face doesn't start to feel gross. So again, I'm gonna say if you have normal to dry skin, mature normal to dry skin, and you're looking for a more radiant balm foundation from the drugstore, this might be one you want to check out. I mean, aside from the shine issue, it looked really pretty on my skin, so I'll give it that. And I just think my skin type in my environment is just not ideal for this particular foundation. Now it's time for Makeup Forever HD Skin Balancing and Perfecting Foundation. This is $38 for 1 ounce. There are 40 shades. I grabbed it in 214 in burlap. I don't know why I hate the name burlap for a foundation, but it's a perfect match for me. I do believe it's described as light to medium skin with neutral undertones. This applies and blends out quickly and easily and gives you time to work with it before it fully sets down. I love those qualities in an everyday foundation or a foundation I might reach for often. This is a silicone-based foundation that's supposed to be long wearing and hydrate while it mattifies without drying your skin. It's also supposed to blur and smooth your skin. There are some nice ingredients in here like blueberry oil, which is comforting for your skin. It has niacinamide, which visibly tightens your pores, hyaluronic acid and peptides to smooth and retain moisture. I find this to be incredibly smoothing and flattering on texture, pores, and fine lines, and it looks so incredibly beautiful and natural even when I build it up. I can build this from medium to pretty much full coverage, and it just looks so natural and skin-like. It performs beautifully with or without a primer. I don't need a primer with it to control my shine during the day. It does a fantastic job of balancing my skin and controlling the shine in my shine-prone areas without drying my other areas. My skin never looks or feels dry during the day. It's just a nice, lightweight, comfortable foundation. It also is extremely long wearing. It just wears phenomenally well throughout the day. One of the first days I was testing this, I had already worn it on a pretty long day, and I decided to really put it to the test. I was going to an evening wedding shower that was being held outdoors. It had been raining. It was very muggy, very humid. It was at least 85, but it felt warmer because of the humidity, heat, and rain. I had it on for several hours, outdoors the whole time. Normally, I would look worn down and sweaty and greasy by the time I got home. I hadn't looked at myself, and I was so pleasantly surprised. This is also the foundation I packed with me on a girls' trip I just went on a couple of days ago. It was a 4-day trip, and the weather was identical to what it was here. Mid-90s and humid. I mean, I just wasn't expecting to like this and reach for it as much as I do. This has been such a pleasant surprise for me. I've not only been using this on a daily basis or rotating it in with my other daily basis foundations. I've been reaching for it for special occasions, mixing it with other foundations. It is in my regular rotation. I want to say it would work for all skin types, but obviously no foundation will work for everyone. And it does have alcohol listed towards the top of the ingredient list, like many long-lasting foundations do, and fragrance is listed towards the bottom of the ingredient list. I do notice just a slight makeup-y scent as I'm applying it, but it disappears quickly for me. So if you're very sensitive to various types of fragrances, or if you have very dry skin, I'm not so sure, but it does perform so well for me. It's smoothing, flattering. It looks so natural and wears beautifully throughout the day on all areas of my face. It's become a quick favorite. Let me know how you liked this foundation roundup with only 3 foundations in the comments down below. And if you've tried any of these 3, I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video or if you found it helpful in some way, I would love it if you would give this video a thumbs up and hype it, and subscribe if you're not already. If you want to see more foundation roundups, you can check those out here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!